the shop. So today I wanted to do a project for y'all. If you remember last time I had unboxed my new lathe and got it all working, got it set up, but it was sitting here on my workbench. And it can't live here on my workbench because I have other work to do. So today we're going to build a bench to put the lathe on. So I had to move some stuff around here in the shop and reorganize, but I think I finally got a spot for it. We're going to build this bench. I'm coming back right now because I've already built the bench, already done the videoing for it, and had to come back because for some reason I lost the whole beginning of my video. I don't know what happened, technical difficulties, a glitch, I don't know. So there's a bunch that you missed. Unfortunately, I can't go back in time and redo it, but I'm starting from here. The project is going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to try to not bore you. I'm going to fast forward through a lot of spots. We're going to have a good time making this little build. And but I needed to get myself a new intro. I had a bunch of technical difficulties on this project, actually. For some reason, my camera quality is not that great. I don't know why. It came out good the last time I made a video. This time it was a little grainy. I don't know. Maybe it's because it was so early in the morning when I worked on it. I didn't have a whole lot of light here in the shop. But, you know, I'm going to put it out there anyhow. Now, I know it's not the best quality, but it's what I got for this week. And hopefully next time I make a video, I'll work through my difficulties, and it's going to be a much better video. So here it goes, from where I started. So I bought this inexpensive particle board. It's nothing fancy. It's a basic tabletop for my workbench. It's a good solid hard surface, and it wasn't expensive because I'm all about building things cheaply, especially here in the shop. If it's something I'm going to build for a customer, something that I'm going to put out there in the world, I'm going to probably do a much better job than stuff I do here in the shop. A lot of stuff I do is just basics, necessities. I don't like spending extra money on stuff in the shop that I don't really need to spend money on. And a lathe bench, to me, is not something that I need to spend a whole lot of money on, but I'd like it to be good, solid, and sturdy so that I can use the tool safely and properly. So the overall length is about 33 inches. With the handle sticking out on the side, it's going to need a little more. So I'm going to go with the 35. Just because I think it's going to be more comfortable to work on, give me a little bit extra room for the tailstock adjustment if it's all the way out. I likely won't be using the tailstock adjustment all the way out very often, but for the times that I do, I want it to be able to work. So we're going to go with the 35 inches, and that'll put me an inch away from this door, and I can be pretty close up to this next table over here. So yeah, we're going to go with that. I think I'm going to orient the legs perpendicular to the wall. So now I just need to do my 35 inches minus the distance of these two pieces of 2x4 because I'm going to put the brace in between the two. So I got all my pieces of wood laid out here. I've got my 4 legs. I got my 2 sides and my 2 long sides. So we're going to start putting it together. So the basic frame is done. This is, again, it's not fine woodworking. It's not some beautiful piece of cabinetry. It's utilitarian. It'll hold the tabletop. It'll hold the lathe. It'll keep everything good and strong and sturdy, which is what I'm going for here. I got glue all over me, but you know, that's normal. And it just rubs off. Alright, so now, next thing I need to do is cut my tabletop. So we're going to need to take some measurements. I should already know the measurements. They should be, what, 35? Yeah. And 22. So we're looking at 35 by 22. So the next thing I need to do is cut my sheet goods. I'm going to move this table and I'm going to bring out my saw. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my sheet goods here. Again, it's just particle board. It's good and smooth on one side, and the back side's a little rough, but that's okay. The back side will be facing down, and the smooth side will be on the top. It's not going to splinter or anything crazy like that. There are some little pieces, imperfections in the board. I might actually use this one for the bottom because it's got this little bubble on it that's bothering me. I could put some glue in there and put a weight on it and let it dry. But yeah, I'm just going to use it for the bottom. This one here, I'm going to use for the top. It's got a much better surface on it, no bubbles, no weirdness, good and solid. You could use plywood. You could really use anything you want on the tabletop. I went with this because it's $7 instead of, you know, $12 or $15 because I'm cheap and I like to go inexpensive. And the only thing it's doing is holding up a lathe, and this stuff is very strong. So that's what I'm using. Let's take our measurements. And that quick, I lost my tape measure. Good thing I've got 7 more. Tape measures. Alrighty, so we are going to go with, I said 35 for my width. I'm going to get a T-square. Get my handy-dandy T-square here. It's a very basic utilitarian tool. The end of the table. Slide this table over a little bit. And this we're going to make a nice straight line. I like to use a rip guide to make it a good straight solid line. Rip guide is the simplest tool that you can make. They do sell fancy ones like, I got one here somewhere. Oh, it's over there. But they have ones with fancy clamps that clamp on and hold everything together, and they got a track that the saw runs through. I don't go through all that. I made a very basic design, which is this guy here. This is just a regular piece of Luan plywood. What is it, quarter, something like that? 1/4-inch Luan plywood and a wooden strip. You cut the plywood a little bit wider than you need it to be. You cut the wooden strip. You nail the two of them together. when you put the rest of your saw up against this wooden strip, your very first cut is going to be your rip guide, because this distance between here and the end is your blade. I'll show you. Now, the only problem with this is, if you use multiple saws, you're going to need multiple rip guides, because this rip guide is specifically for this particular saw. Every saw's got a plate on it. This is a small handheld circular saw. I do have a regular full-size skill saw, but for sheet goods, I like this little guy. It's one-handed. It does a great job. It also has an adjustable base, so you can measure the distance of the wood. This is a great tool. It's probably one of my favorite saws. But this here saw is designed for this rip fence. If I put this piece up against it, exactly where my blade is the edge of the wood, because I used this saw to make this blade, or this guide. So again, the wood was larger, and then when I ran the saw along it, it made the exact cut that I needed to make the rip guide. So now, whenever I make a cut, I just got to line the edge of this up with my line, and I know that's where my blade is going to land. Now this particular saw does have this fancy little laser guide that you push the little button and the laser comes on, and I don't even know if the battery's good on it. I never use it. I rather use a rip guide. This way I know my line is straight. You know, I can eyeball it bet all day long with that laser, but if I have something to ride the saw along, you're going to get a much straighter cut. So I take my rip guide and then I get my clamps. And I clamp it down. Okay. Now the one side's clamped down. We're going to clamp the other side down. Adjust it a little better. There we go. Now we're right on the line. And I'm going to put a little something under here as a spacer, because the guide doesn't go the full length of the wood, or the wood doesn't go the full length of the table, and I really want it clamped to the table. I could go with one clamp on one side, but you got the chance of this thing skewing on you, and I don't want that. So I'm going to get a little spacer, put it up under there. And for a spacer, I'm just going to use a couple of these paint sticks. Stack them up on top of each other right about where I want the clamp to be. And now it's clamped down. And that thing's not going anywhere. So now I'm going to have a nice straight cut. Use my little drop cord, plug her in, and we're ready to roll. Now with this saw, it has the adjustable depth on it. So what I want to do is adjust it a little bit past where I want it to be to compensate for the height of the rip guide. And we are hanging up over the edge, so if it goes a little through, it's not going to damage the table or anything like that. So we're ready to cut. First cut, Nice and straight. Looks great. Okay. Now we have our tabletop. I'm going to clean up the edges a little bit, and then we're going to attach it to the, got myself a little splinter. So yeah, I'm going to clean up the edges, get rid of all these little splinters before I get any more, and then we're going to attach it to the top of the table we built. Okay, that looks pretty good. Get my little brush here. Just kind of brush it off. That little splinter hurts. Another shop tip. Keep a pair of tweezers in your shop. Helps you pull the splinters out. I get them every day. Coffee. Okay, now we get the surface on. It is good and strong. Plenty of weight, strength to hold up that lathe. This sucker ain't going nowhere. I mean, that can hold me. And I'm pretty darn heavy. Alright, so now we're going to build the bottom. We're going to need to take some measurements, so we're going to bring this workbench back out and put it back up on the workbench. Then we're going to cut a piece 32 by 22 to fit inside of here and act as a bottom shelf. And that quick, I lost my tape measure again. Good thing I got another one. Okay, so I got all the parts and pieces cut for them to make the draw, and I've even got a new little helper. This is Taylor, my daughter. She helps me out here in the shop, and she's going to help me finish up this project, right? Okay. So I got my front pieces and my side pieces cut, and we are going to screw them together and make the drawer itself. Awesome. Can you hand me the speed square? Yes. Thank you. Put our speed square in place to make sure we got everything lined up.